Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of the playthrough, I guess, of sorts that I'm doing for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Today, I kind of wanted to do something a little different and have I guess a topic that I was going to talk about, kind of as we do the playthrough here. So, I guess I was going to go through my memories with the Zelda franchise and just kind of my history with it as we go through the Dodongo's Cavern here. So I guess I'll start at the beginning, of the franchise and just kind of go from there as we go. So Zelda 1, I, just for reference, am only 25, so I was born in 1995. So I didn't really have any experience, with the original Zelda when it was new exactly, because I just wasn't alive yet, So I didn't play it until the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition came out on GameCube. That's actually where I experienced a lot of Zelda games for the first time, just because like I said, I didn't really grow up with an NES around the house or anything like that. In fact, our first console that we had was a Game Boy Color, believe it or not, and that'll kind of come into play a little later as I'm talking about stuff. But so I didn't have any experience really with Zelda 1. I didn't play it until much later, but since then, as I kind of started collecting games and things like that, I did end up getting an original copy for the NES, just as kind of a neat collector's item type of deal. We're gonna see if we can get this Dodongo to... Oh, never mind. Oh, let's see if we can get it. We'll see if we can get it to blow up that door. Hey, nice. But yeah, I eventually got copies of, or a couple, because I think I have it on Game Boy, no, not Game Boy Advance. I have it in the Collector's Edition. I have a, Nintendo eShop version somewhere. I don't remember if it was on 3DS or Wii U, but I, confession time, have never actually beaten Zelda 1, just because I don't know, with both of the NES Zelda games, they're just a little difficult to kind of go back to if you're, more of a modern gamer, I guess, type of deal. But, yeah, so I haven't beaten that one. Then on to Zelda 2. The first time I played that as well was in the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition on GameCube. And that one I liked even less than Zelda 1, just because it's, I don't know, it kind of falls into that category of being similar to, I don't know, the NES Castlevania games type of deal, where they're just not very, more Castlevania 2 than, I guess, Castlevania 1 or 3. They fall into that category of just having super, I don't know, non-obvious, solutions to puzzles and stuff like that, to the point where, and, there's a, I don't know, I think it's a wall or something that you come across in Zelda 2 that just doesn't have any indication as to what you need to do in order to get past it. But and I think the implication that a lot of people say is that Nintendo was kind of forcing you to get Nintendo Power in order to figure out the solution type of deal. But I don't know the validity of that or not. Obviously, the game was made in Japan, so... Where's this other Lizalfos at? Oh, there he is. Hey, nice. But yeah, so I certainly haven't beaten Zelda 2 just because I don't really have the patience for games that are that old anyways. Which is unfortunate, because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff from the, that generation of games that I just kind of miss out on. Got sniffles there. But yeah, so I've never beaten that. I own it on Game Boy Advance as well. There's like a like a NES classic line of basically games that came out on Game Boy Advance. So that's another place that I own it. You know, like I said, though, I haven't beaten it by any stretch of the imagination. Then after that, obviously you have Link to the Past, and that was one of the early ones that I actually had. I had the GBA port, though, so it's the one with the same like sword attack noise from this game whenever you swing the sword, which is weird to have in a 2D Zelda game, but it was an interesting, I guess, addition. But I didn't beat that game until way later. That's the earliest Zelda game that I've actually beaten. And I beat that on SNES as well as the GBA version. Although I never got to do the there's a 4-sword dungeon that's exclusive to the GBA version. Since I never beat 4 swords on the Game Boy Advance, I was never able to play that dungeon, though. You can, like, cheat your way into it, but it's easily the hardest dungeon in the game because it was made, I guess, with the intention of being a big, you know, kind of final challenge, assuming you've beaten both games type of deal. Let's see. It's just, yeah, we're not messing with that. Yeah, so it was meant to be a challenge if you had done both games, but like I said, I had never A, found anyone else who had Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance, and B, had enough link cables to actually play 4 swords. So you see, yeah, that's my history with A Link to the Past. After that, I believe it was Link's Awakening that came out, and I didn't get that game until, like, I don't know, I had to have been in high school or something like that. Ugh, can't stand these Armos. Let's see if I can actually just hold the bomb and kill it that way. There we go, perfect. Yeah, I didn't play it until I was probably in high school, but I loved it. That's probably one of my favorite, actually it may be my favorite 2D Zelda game, just because it's not really all that long. You know, there's not a huge difficulty curve exactly. It kind of is steady, I guess. You know, or some of the other Zelda games, especially the 2D ones, kind of fall into this category of getting like crazy difficult towards the end, but not the case really with A Link to the Past. So yeah, I beat that on the original Game Boy version, as well as the Game Boy Color Deluxe Edition that they did. In fact, I'd say that's probably one of my favorite Game Boy Color games is Link's Awakening. Yeah, just such a unique story, just in terms of it all being a dream, and so spoiler alert. I mean, it's a spoiler for a game that came out decades ago at this point, but which is crazy to think about, because, like, I don't know, you just don't really think about them in that way. But yeah, so I really like that game. I really like even the presentation for, like, the cutscenes, how they're kind of like, you know, Link at the beginning looks, I don't know, like a realistic, or at least realistic at the time, depiction of the character, whereas it had always been kind of, you know, just sprites and stuff like that beforehand. But yeah, I really liked that game. Then we get to the 3D Zelda games, and we have Ocarina of Time, and as I've said, I didn't actually play Ocarina of Time until, oh cool, that's the one I can just move. Yeah, I didn't actually play Ocarina of Time until the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition on the GameCube. And as I've said in one of the other playthrough videos, I wasn't very good at games when I was growing up, so what I would do is I would play like the beginning areas that were really easy, you know, so like the Kokiri Forest leading into the Great Deku Tree, and I would just do those and then delete the save, or, you know, start a new save and just kind of rinse and repeat until eventually, I don't know what it was, something clicked. I think maybe I had played Twilight Princess through to completion. Thanks, Navi, for the hint of the thing I just avoided. Yeah, I think it was after Twilight Princess that I actually went back and then beat Ocarina of Time, but definitely one of my favorite games. It's like the quintessential, I guess, modern Zelda game, if you want to call it that. I don't know if that is necessarily like a bad thing. Well, I wouldn't even say it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but yeah, it's certainly like the quintessential 3D Zelda game. It kind of defined what the formula is. I'm surprised I got that on the first try, by the way. It defined what the formula was for 3D Zelda, and just Zelda kind of in general. Although, I guess you could kind of attribute a lot of that to A Link to the Past as well. But I really enjoyed, you know, just having a, you know, 3D Zelda experience on the GameCube. I get to fight more Lizalfos. Yay. See, and I forget if they can breathe fire in this game or not. Alright, one to go. Alright. As I was saying, though, Ocarina of Time, quintessential Zelda game, I think. You know, it just really defined the formula, just going forward. And when I eventually did get around to beating it, I would say it's easily one of, if not my favorite, N64 games, just period. I don't know if it's my favorite Zelda game, which that's kind of sacrilege for some people, but I don't know. I go between liking Twilight Princess more or Majora's Mask more, or even Breath of the Wild, depending on the day, although I don't think that that's necessarily because it's a good Zelda game, if that makes sense, which I think that you know, talking point has kind of been done to death at this point. But is it worth it to go down here? I don't remember. Probably not. But yeah, you know, like this, it defined what 3D Zelda was going to be, which is then, I guess the crazy thing is following this up with Majora's Mask, which I guess that was a waste of my time, which redefines, I guess, the Zelda conventions, Majora's Mask does, and kind of puts a bigger emphasis, well, actually definitely puts a bigger emphasis on like mini quests, I guess, or just, you know, side quests that you can do throughout the game, to great effect, I think. You know, because in this game you never really feel like, I don't know, you necessarily care about the NPCs all that much. They're just kind of window dressing for the adventure that you're going on. But in Majora's Mask, they're pretty much front and center, you know, and they're the thing that you really play that game for, honestly. Yeah, I want to say that Majora's Mask may have been, because I think, I want to say that I had rented that from a, because my first console that we had was a Game Boy Color. Then we got a Nintendo 64 sometime later. And I want to say, based on a Zelda game that I had played on the Game Boy Color, which I'll get into in a little bit. I was like, oh, I want to play, you know, like the 3D Zelda game. And so we had actually rented Majora's Mask from Albertsons. And, you know, back then you could only rent a game for like, I don't know, 2 days or something crazy like that. And so we had rented it. And, you know, I loaded someone else's save. And I had absolutely no idea what was happening. I was just kind of going around aimlessly. And I just have that vague memory in my head of the moon crashing down. And as a kid, you know, you don't really, well, especially if you load someone else's save, you don't really know what's happening in the story, I guess. And so as a kid, I had absolutely no idea. Oh, shit. Oh, I guess that's not that bad. Assuming I can get to the other side. Fuck. I might have screwed myself. Nah, cool. We're good. But yeah, I had no idea what was going on in Majora's Mask, and so just seeing the moon crashed out as a, I don't know, I had to have been 5 or 6 year old or something like that. Seeing that at that age was a little traumatizing, to say the least, but, you know, it just, the tone of that game is so different from Ocarina of Time that I really, am just kind of, oh good, I don't have a shield anymore. The tone just being so different, after a game as massive as Ocarina of Time, you know, with the development time that it had, which I think they did it in, like, 13 months or something like that, something ridiculous, because they originally had wanted to do more like an expansion, or, I don't know what you want to call it exactly, like a, whatever it is, where you have the second save in Zelda 1, I guess an alternate quest that they were going to do, which eventually became Ocarina of Time Master Quest, but originally they were going to do, like, remixed dungeons, a couple of added items, stuff kind of like that. Let's see if I can take care of this guy. Hey, there we go, perfect. Yeah, they were gonna do remixed dungeons. I think they were gonna add some items, that type of deal. Just kind of like a mini expansion type of deal, but that never came to fruition. And I think it was because Aonuma, who, oh my gosh, I can't stand keys, especially fire keys. I think it was Aonuma who was in charge of the dungeons. They basically gave him the option of either doing the remix dungeons or basically making a game from scratch, and he opted to do the game from scratch in a really short amount of time type of deal. But so he ended up doing that, and it's just, it's wild that that game is as polished as it is. I mean, it does have a few bugs and glitches, which, I mean, games of the time just kind of, you know, that's just par for the course, really. But yeah, it's just crazy that they were able to pull off something like that in such a short amount of development time. But yeah, that's basically my memories with that game, although eventually I did get the collector's edition, like I said, and that's where I played a lot more, because we only ever rented it from Albertsons, like, one time. So yeah, I played it a whole lot in the Zelda collector's edition. Never beat it as a kid, like I did with Ocarina of Time. I didn't do it until much later. Like, I didn't beat it until way later. But I'm glad I did. Let me get, what's that? Hey, bombs. To fight our friend, the King Dodongo here, who's kind of a pushover, at least compared to when I was fighting him as a kid. But yeah, so I don't know. I eventually, like I said, beat it on the collector's edition on GameCube. which is not the best way to play that game. The emulation is a little lackluster, to say the least, but and I think a big part of that was because they didn't emulate the expansion pack, if I recall. So it's just kind of this weird thing where the game doesn't run as smoothly as it even did on N64, which is kind of crazy to think about. You know, because a lot of N64 games, unless you're playing them on an emulator or something, are going to run a little choppy, to say the least. But, man, Majora's Mask on GameCube, that's a whole other story. Yeah, eventually I beat it. I really liked, like, all the side quests, honestly. I don't know, like, I can't think of a single side quest in that game that I didn't enjoy. Aside from, like, I didn't do all the bottles, just because, like I've said in the past, I'm not really a person who 100% games. So use a pushover. Yeah, so I did that. Had a really good time, eventually, with Majora's Mask after it stopped terrifying me. Let's see, after that, we go to, I believe, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, which, those were the first Zelda games that I played, because we had a Game Boy Color, my sister and I, as our first console. And, I guess my parents had gotten those games with the mentality that it was kind of going to be like a Pokemon thing, where it's the same game, but, you know, slightly different. But in reality, those games are entirely different. And, they have a really cool, like, I guess, code function where you can input codes that you get from completing one game and enter them in the other to get different items and unlock different secrets and stuff like that. As a kid, I wasn't, you know, like I've said, I wasn't very good at games, but I always remember, because my sister's older than me, I had to have her play certain parts of, I think it was Oracle of Ages. There's like a really early mini dungeon to get to the Maku tree, I believe, in that game. And you have to go on like these really narrow kind of like paths with a bunch of bats flying around you. And so I would always have to get my sister to beat the bats for me because I couldn't quite coordinate traveling across the narrow walkways. But I eventually, you know, like years later, I think I was in high school as well, beat Oracle of Seasons. I never got around to beating Oracle of Ages because, well, it's like, I don't know, every time I've tried to, it's just the last boss in that game, Varen. She whoops my ass, and I just haven't been able to do it. And I'm sure if I tried hard enough, or just kept doing it over and over and over, I would eventually get it. Or maybe if I played on like an emulator or something and had save states to, you know, just get through each phase of the battle, or even maybe just cheat entirely, I'd probably be able to do it then. But I don't know, at this point, it's kind of like, well, I haven't done it, so I'm just not going to type of deal. And maybe I'm kind of partially waiting for them to do a Link's Awakening style remake for that for those games, just because I think that would be, I don't know, a really neat use of those assets that they had made for Link's Awakening HD, since the you know, the original art style kind of really matches the original Link's Awakening and Oracle of Ages and Seasons. But yeah, as far as that's basically my memories with Oracle of Ages and Seasons. So then going from there to Wind Waker. Wind Waker was the first Zelda game that I was, I guess, old enough to, I guess, understand the significance of it. You know, it was a game that I wanted my parents to buy for me. Like, I have memories of like begging them to be like, "Oh, can we get this for Christmas?" And it was a long time until I actually got it, and even then we got a used copy, I think. So it was, had to have been a year later or something like that. But that was around the time I actually got a action replay for the GameCube. And that kind of, it's like a weird thing where it's like it gave me a different, I guess, way of playing than a lot of other people would have been able to, or, you know, not a lot of other people, but then most people would experience games. But oh, the fuse is a lot shorter, but not that short. There we go, perfect. Yeah, so I don't know, I would play with a lot of cheats on and stuff like that, so I didn't really get the actual, I guess, feel for, yeah, I can't go to Death Mountain because I don't have the Hylian shield, but I just felt like doing those boulders there. Yeah, I didn't have the actual, I guess, experience of beating Wind Waker till much later. In fact, I want to say it was Wind Waker HD on Wii U. That was the first time, I guess, that I had actually beaten Wind Waker. But then eventually I did go back on the GameCube version and beat it just for the sake of completion, I suppose. But yeah, it's my memories really with that one. It's a fine game. I don't know. It's a weird one where it's like I don't really vibe with the art style in the same way that a lot of other people do. I definitely appreciate it more than I did when I was younger. Because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is stupid. Like, why do they look like cartoons? I don't understand. But then eventually, you know, growing up, I've gotten more appreciative of it, at least. I still don't necessarily think that it's the best art style for Zelda, but and I think it actually could have been helped by in the Hyrule Historia, I believe they talk about how originally there's going to be a an aging mechanic for Link, so he would get older as the game progressed. And I don't know, it just kind of would have been cooler to see an older version of Link in that art style. And I'm kind of disappointed that they never did that in any of the other, I guess, sort of sequels of sorts to that game. You know, they didn't do that in, what's it called? They didn't do that in Phantom Hourglass. They didn't do that in Spirit Tracks either, which is disappointing, in my opinion. You know, obviously that's always going to be up to your feelings, I guess. Oh, great, bombs. Yippee. Gonna have to try that again. Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of my take on Wind Waker, I guess. It's doesn't have as many dungeons as Ocarina of Time, which is, I think, another thing that kind of disappoints me, and the Great Sea feels kind of empty, given how vast it is. You know, I would have wanted there to be more, I don't know, towns, because you really only have what's it called? Whatever the one with that giant windmill. That's like the only big settlement besides Outset Island that really exists, because the other one, Great Fish Isle, got destroyed by oh great, 2 rupees, thanks. Or 3. You know, it's just it doesn't have the same sense of being like a grand adventure when 90% of the environment that you're looking at through the game is just blue. You know, the blue of the ocean. But obviously other people like that more than I do, but come on. Oh, jeez, what a tease. Gotta wait now. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I've grown to appreciate Wind Waker a lot more as I've gotten older. But hey, maybe this will be the time that I finally get it. You know, I appreciate it more than when I was a kid. Oh, come on, dude. Really? And this is all for a heart piece, I believe. land? No, Navi, I don't want to talk to you. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on Wind Waker. Kind of like the sailing a little bit, although it does get repetitive on the GameCube. I'd recommend... Hey, finally. I would actually recommend getting the HD version on Wii U, or fingers crossed, eventually we'll get a Switch port. Just because that would be a lot more convenient, because it adds a... oh, bummer, there's not a Hylian shield there. Yeah, there's, it would just be easier for people to play, and there's it's a quick sail in that game that makes it so you don't have to change the direction of the wind, which is super useful in my opinion anyways, but, I don't know, I think, for this part anyways, I might stop at Wind Waker, just to kind of save some stuff to talk about for the next one, and just kind of focus more on the commentary, if you will, of this game. I always found it funny down there with that giant pot that I was doing. If you fall into it from the platform there, it just warps you to the entrance to the Goron City, which I always thought was just kind of a neat thing that, you know, you wouldn't have to add that, you know, you could just do a game over, but they actually decided to do something, you know, assuming you go that way. And sure enough, as I do this, it's just going to be rupees at the end, which, as you can tell, I don't actually need, because I have 99 rupees. And I think this is the one. There we go. Yep. Rupees. And a gossip stone. Hey, and a Skulltula. Oops, that is not what I wanted to do, but I think that'll... Hey, perfect. And by this point, I'd have to think I have enough Skulltulas to get the first kid free of his curse, but I could be entirely wrong about that. We will see. And I'm going to do a pro gamer strat here and just drop down from this ledge. Oh, shoot. I hesitated because I wanted to see if I could get that heart piece, but it is too late for that. Yeah, so I guess the order of things I'm going to do is check on the House of Skulltula to see if any of them have been freed. Like I said, I believe one of them may be free by now, assuming I have 10. Oh, I have 11. Yeah, so one of them should be free. And I can get something, I don't remember what. Maybe the adult's wallet? Yeah, there we go, the adult's wallet. Yeah, I don't know, the House of Skulltula always kind of freaked me out as a kid as well. I don't know, just because they don't really ever explain what the hell it was that cursed them, I guess. Just kind of a weird thing that exists in this game, and, you know, just one of those mysteries, I guess, that you find in Zelda games that make it stand out to, I guess, other adventure games. Let's see, what did I say I was going to do next? Oh yeah, I'm going to buy a Hylian shield, and then I am going to get the Keaton mask so that I can sell it to that guard. Yeah, I think for this session, I'm going to end once I get to the Jabu Jabu's belly. Like, just to the entrance of it. Because I don't feel like doing 2 dungeons in one session, but... Alright, let's go to the general store first. Oh. And he should give us a discount, yeah. Oh, did he give it to us for free? Oh, no. I was about to say that's a really good deal. By the way, 69 rupees. Nice. I always found it funny, like... Or maybe not funny, but I never really used the potion shop all that much. You know, just because there's not really any reason to. Because, you know, you can get fairies in the wild pretty easily. And I feel like once you get your magic meter, it's pretty much, you know, the entire time you don't have to worry about it running out. But yeah, I really like the... or maybe not like, but the Happy Mask Salesman, even in this game, is a little odd, I guess. You know, he's saying, like, oh, you should have faith, you know, like, it's gonna bring you all this happiness, dude. And I think it's a really cool thing that they kind of took that and ran in terms of that character in Majora's Mask. You know, just being a really kind of unique, you never really know where you stand with him type of character. You can't tell if he's there to help or if he's maybe more of a malicious character. And that just adds to the mystery. And it's like, I'm glad that they have never explicitly gone into, like, I don't know, his origin story or that type of deal. But, alright, we gotta equip the Keaton mask. Actually, what I may do once I've gone up to the Great Fairy, which I need to equip my Hylian shield. Once I've gone and talked to the Great Fairy and gotten magic, I might just do more of the mask quests if I can talk. Yeah, let's talk to this guard. And I always found it funny that you know, he's talking about the Keaton mask being really popular or at the time, and it kind of is a little reminiscent of Pikachu. You know, so either that's a cheeky reference to Pokemon, or it's just, you know, they were like, oh, the Keaton, that's really popular. And I like how he wears it for the rest of the game. Just kind of a neat thing, because he's like, oh, I'm getting it for my son. And then he ends up wearing it himself the entire time, at least as far as you can tell. But yeah, like I said, I think in the last one, there's that kid at the graveyard in Kakariko. He's actually the son of that guard, and it's just a funny little thing that he thinks he's getting that for his son because he really wants it. And then you end up selling the spooky mask, I think, to the son instead. And he wears it for the rest of the child time. Oh, come on, that should have been a jump. Yeah, he wears it for the rest of the child timeline of the game. Because you never see that kid or the that guard again after you do the time jump, after you beat Jabu Jabu's belly. Oop. Surprised that didn't hit me. Kind of don't like this, that they basically magnetize to you And it's like, I get why they did it. It's to force you to get the Hylian shield, but at the same time, part of me is like, I really would have just preferred being able to dodge them if you can, type of deal, but no such luck in this game, unfortunately. I should be able to make it. Oh, maybe not. There we go. And I don't remember if it's here or in the forest temple, maybe? Where these Skulltulas start crawling. Assuming you're, like, climbing a vine. Or, you know, in this case, a weird ladder wall. Yeah, eventually they start climbing towards you. And that really threw me for a loop the first time that happened. Yeah, we're gonna talk to our friend the Great Fairy here, though. Oh, thank goodness I have bombs, because that would not have been pleasant. Alright. Now we get to see our friend with the pointiest boobs on the N64. And Link's look of confusion would be shared with childhood me as well. Always kind of a weird thing that the Great Fairies and in this game and the Great Fairy and Twilight Princess are just kind of naked. And a rated, well, I think this one's rated E, and then Twilight Princess is rated T. Just kind of an odd decision. I'm not sure if it's based off of something from Japanese culture, perhaps, but just a really weird choice for a children's game. I do always like how in each, or pretty much each of the different Zelda games, they change up the designs of the Great Fairies, like in Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker. And even, like I said, Twilight Princess, like they're each completely different, and I always have kind of liked that. And we're actually going to talk to our friend Kapora Gaybora here, because we need to go back down to Kakariko Village, because he'll inadvertently give us access to a piece of heart, just based on where he drops us off. Give us a nice close image of that flat texture. Yeah, if you drop down here... I just want to make sure I don't miss it. Yeah, if you drop down here, you're not supposed to be able to do this until... Or maybe not supposed to be able to do it, but you're typically supposed to be able to get this once you have the hook shot as an adult. But, you know, always good to get a piece of heart a little early. Just because every little bit helps in terms of training Link up and making him a little bit stronger. Yeah, I'm unsure as far as the mask side quest goes, if I can do all of them before Jabu Jabu's belly. Because I don't remember if the Running Man actually spawns onto Hyrule Field until after you've beaten it. And I mean, I could look that up, but I can't really multitask while I'm playing, unfortunately, so... Yeah, and I don't see him running around. That's probably the most quote-unquote difficult part of the mask side quest in this game, is finding the running man, because he can be sort of elusive sometimes. Even though he has a set path, but... Talk to our friend, the mask salesman. Alright. Yeah, back on the topic of the mask salesman always kind of feeling like he knows more than he's letting on. It's just interesting that he is presumably the same mask salesman from this game. And he has just traveled, like you, from Hyrule to Termina. Just a neat little observation. As well as, I think the Skull Kid in Majora's Mask is the Skull Kid that you give the Skull Mask, which I'm about to do here. Just kind of a neat connection in these games, but it's just funny because, like, the world feels so massive when you're younger, but then you realize it's just all walled off. And it's just kind of more of the illusion of being a, I guess, open world than actually being one. You know, which obviously it's not anything they could have done, you know, to change that just because it was N64 hardware. And you're sort of limited with what you can do with that, but... yeah, I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to think about in retrospect compared to, like, Breath of the Wild now. Alright, let's talk to our friend here. Oh, I guess you need it equipped before you enter. Oh, that's right. You gotta play that to become his friend. But yeah, it's implied that this Skull Kid is the same one from Majora's Mask. Since he has a fascination with masks, as well as I think he references playing Saria's song with you. I did always find it creepy, though, that Skull Kids in this game are Kokiri that have gotten lost in the Lost Woods. Always found that to be a little disturbing, I guess. As well as if Hylian gets lost in the Lost Woods, they become Astolfos, which also is not something that you would want to happen to you, really. But and that comes into play later on in the quest for the Big Goron sword. Now we get to make the long trek back to Hyrule Castle, which, like I said earlier, is like it's really not helped by the fact that you have no warp songs or Epona early in the game. So it's kind of a slog in that way, but, you know, it is what it is. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to make it before nightfall, so... On the bright side, we have the sun song, so... If we miss it, then I'll just be able to change time. I think I'm just barely gonna make it. Let's see. Yep. See, and I like how they don't have different times of day besides just day and just night for the castle town. I don't know, it kind of would have been cool to see like a you know, an afternoon version with like, you know, a really, I don't know, orange hue or something like that. Yeah, oh well, that's just me maybe nitpicking, I guess. Actually, probably definitely nitpicking. Alright. And the spooky mask can actually get us a piece of heart in the Lost Woods, but I don't really feel like going back there right now. In fact, I think I might end this at once I've sold this mask, just because I am getting a little sleepy at this point, and I'm gonna have to edit this after I finish recording and post it online. And usually rendering on my computer is not the fastest. So yeah, we're gonna go in here and then sell this, and then I'm gonna call it after that. Alright, let's see, the sun song is... okay. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Alright, now we get to sell the spooky mask to this kid. Because it reminds him of the Gravekeeper Dampy. Because he has a weird fascination with him. Alright. So that's going to be that for this episode. I guess the next one I'll talk about my experience with Minish Cap, I want to say. I think that was the one that went immediately after Wind Waker. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.